Ron Fran, thank you very much. What a heartbreaker for Bob Knight and Texas Tech to lose that one. Here at SIU Arena, Terry Gannon along with the pride and joy of Carbondale, Illinois, Stephen Bardo, the former Illinois star. Creighton and Southern Illinois, the top two teams in the Missouri Valley Conference, both coming in at 11-3. The second matchup between these two this year. The first one was a classic. Back in Omaha, 58-57, won by the Salukis. A last possession shot by Brian Mullins, the sophomore from Downers Grove, Illinois. Nate Funk, though, the star and the leading scorer in the conference for Creighton, had a floating three-pointer rattle in and out. So Southern Illinois, the tiebreaker if you win. If they would win this one, they'd in effect be 2 games ahead of Creighton in the standings.
That's exactly right, and it shows you how close these two teams are to one another and the battle that we have on our hands this afternoon.
Nate Funk back on the floor. He's got 2 fouls, took a seat for the last minute and a half or so. In and out this time, tipped up and good by Dane Watts, the junior from Warrensburg, Missouri. But Anthony Tolliver, the inside force for Creighton, also has 2 fouls. Randall Falker, one of the top names, top shot blocker, top inside scorer for the Salukis, has 2 fouls so far.
Typical grudge match in the Missouri Valley Conference. Very physical underneath. Both teams trying to establish that inside presence early.
Jamal Tatum, the leading scorer for Southern Illinois, who was questionable with a deep thigh bruise, only played 6 minutes against Bradley a couple of nights ago, but he started the game. He's been fine so far. Shot clock at 5. Here's Mullins, the left-hander, cleared by Porter.
Well, if there's one thing about Brian Mullins' game, because it's very solid, he doesn't look to score enough.
Nick Porter and one. Foster on the foul. Jamal Foster, the junior from Columbia, Missouri. So a little spark for the visiting Blue Jays. Tough place to win on the road in the Missouri Valley Conference. First sellout of the season here at a tough place to play on the road. Southern Illinois with a 3-point lead over Creighton. Terry Gannon back with Stephen Bardo. You used to sit, what, about 20 feet from here when you were a kid, right? And watch the Salukis?
Hey, I've seen Larry Bird, Mo Cheeks, Antoine Carr, and the like come through the valley when I was growing up, so it's special to be here.
Recently, no doubt about it, these are the 2 top programs in the Missouri Valley Conference.
The class of the conference for the last 5 to 6 years, undoubtedly, and Dana Altman and Chris Lowry's have their team really primed for this matchup today.
Dana Altman, the dean of coaches in the Missouri Valley, and Chris Lowry, who is only 34 years of age, probably heard it said the last couple of seasons in the NCAA tournament, the youngest coach in the tourney. 51-1 in the Missouri Valley since 2001-2002. That's incredible. In fact, they've won 77 of their last 80 games in this building overall.
So if I'm an opposing coach coming in here, I'm checking who's making the pregame meal. They're sneaking something in there.
Must be something. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's getting here. That's all the problem. Tatum gets the roll. So for a guy who was questionable at the beginning of the game and averages 14, he's leading the way.
Are you kidding me? His last opportunity to play against Creighton, possibly if they don't match up in the conference tournament, he's not going to miss this one.
Porter slides by in the reverse lay-in. The senior out of Compton, California, in the JUCO transfer.
Ooh, Nick Porter, kind of like NWA, straight out of Compton going to the hole. I like that.
Newcomer of the year in the conference last year. Tatum, how high does he get on the jump shot? And buries it. Boy, you know what? I like watching this guy play.
Hey, he's spoken from one true shooter to another.
He's got 9 in the game. There's a hold on Mullins, and that's his second. Southern Illinois was in the bonus, or had committed 7 fouls very early in this first half.
I like what Creighton is doing. They're only down 5, and they really haven't had a lot going for them. But the one thing they've done is attack the rim and gotten the Salukis in foul trouble.
Coming up on our halftime report from the studio, it was a shootout in Stillwater. That was a great one. How about Oklahoma State and some of the games they've been involved in?
Incredible.
Trouble brewing and duck hunting. So we'll explain all of that, or they will. Linda Cohn will, in the studio in just 2 minutes, 35 seconds of game time.
Well, Oklahoma State's got a rematch of that triple overtime thriller against Texas on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, in my estimation, the best college basketball game of the season so far.
And then they had an overtime game against Pittsburgh earlier this year.
Matt Shaw doing it inside and outside. This time on the tail end of a great pass from Tony Young.
Well, this is what you expect out of your seniors. Look at him draw the defense and kick. So Tony Young having the presence of mind to not make up his mind, but watch what the defense gives him, especially coming off of that hot game last.
12 in the game as he misses. Porter is the man who fouled him. That's his second. And Dana Altman does not have a deep bench. It has changed the way he's had to play this year. They can't go 94 feet, go back to that pressure man-to-man. Can't afford to get in foul trouble. There's the foul on Wesley Clemens, sophomore from Indianapolis, who's played well as of late. So rivalry week presented by Cisco rolls on. This should be a heck of a matchup too, obviously. Number one Florida at Kentucky. Kentucky trying to win its 400th game at Rupp. Coverage begins with College Game Day, driven by State Farm at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Saturday prime time presented by DirecTV. So a 5-point lead for Southern Illinois.
I tell you what, Randolph Morris going to have his hands full against them Twin Towers and the Gators.
Look at that scoring margin. 22.5.
Now, Terry, is it me or is Florida the least talked about national champion that's ranked number one in the country this late in the season that we've seen in recent memory?
I think they've been taken for granted. I'm not sure why, but you're right. In fact, UCLA was number one through the first part of the season. I think you heard a lot more about them, even though I live in the West Coast and people will say, hey, there's a West Coast bias, East Coast bias. We don't hear about them. I think they got played up more.
I agree. And that Florida team, just amazing consistency. All 5 starters back with guys in their ear talking about possible NBA futures. For them to stay the course has just been amazing.
Dane Watts picked up his second foul. So you got 4 starters for Creighton with 2 fouls. Made him a 76% free throw shooter.
Well, you want to set the tone if you're the officials, but you also want the kids to decide the game, and there needs to be a huddle or something and say, fellas, look, this is the way we're calling it. We want you guys to stay in the game, but if you've got to work with it.
As a player, once you get some experience, you should get a sense of that, though, how the game's being called and adjust.
I agree.
Watts, and the foul committed by Matt Shaw. That's his second.
Boy, that looked all ball from my vantage point. I'm sure Mike Sanzier, the official on the baseline that time, had a much better look than I did, but boy, it looked like Shaw had all ball on that one.
In many ways, this is a throwback game because every possession is like gold, and that's the way it used to be in the old days, especially within conference. There was so much pressure on every possession.
Take a look along the baseline. I don't see the contact because Watts doesn't flail one way or the other, indicating contact on the body, and looked like all ball. Yep. So tough break for the Salukis.
So now you got 5 Salukis. We talk about the 4 starters for Creighton with the 2 fouls. Mullins, Shaw, Falker, Boyle, and Foster, all with 2 fouls for Southern.
Well, it's the first time we see full court pressure by Creighton after a made free throw. Try to put a little denial on the inbounds pass, and now Salukis inside of 20 seconds on the shot clock.
Shaw with his back to the basket this time. They tried the double, didn't get there quickly enough. Porter with the rebound.
Well, Nick Porter, one of those undersized guards that's really a power guard. Almost a small forward in a guard's body.
Tried to power it too quickly. Picked up the pivot foot, and there's a turnover. Giving it back to Southern Illinois. 5 straight trips to the NCAA tournament for the Salukis. Pretty impressive, the run that they have put together. And Dana Altman's taken his team there 6 different times, 9 straight times to a postseason tournament.
That's why they typically when you speak of the Missouri Valley, you saw Wichita State early in the year have big wins at LSU and beat some other teams. But when you talk about the Valley, you typically talk about Creighton and Southern Illinois.
Shaw brought it to the floor. Doshlo took it right away.
I know the fans don't like it. That's aggressive defense.
Chris Lowry doesn't like it. They get after you. Both of these teams get after you. Salukis, everybody knows what defense they play. Luce's right there with them. Well into rivalry week presented by Cisco. This one certainly applies. Southern with the 4-point lead. Look at the success for these two programs. 5 of the last 6 regular seasons. Coach of the year, player of the year, 4 of the last 5 tournament champions.
Amazing consistency that both programs, where Creighton is a little bit more versatile offensively, SIU hangs their hat on the defensive end.
55.5 points a game. That's all they give up to Salukis. Funk rises over Shaw for the bank.
Hey, in honor of Parliament Funkadelic, make my funk the P-Funk. Nate Funk getting busy at the hole.
I knew there had to be something with Nate on the floor tonight. I didn't know what it would be. All right. That was good. Last possession here. Tatum to the floor. Bodies all over the deck. Fong. Similar to the shot he had back in Omaha to win the game, which rattled out. This one doesn't draw iron. But we got a good one. 37-35, the 2-point lead for the home team. As we send it back to our studio and Linda Cohn. Good one going on here at SIU Arena in Carbondale, Illinois. The number 20 team in the nation, Southern Illinois, with the 2-point lead over Creighton as the top 2 teams from the Missouri Valley meet here in Carbondale. Terry Gannon back with Stephen Bardo. I know it's unusual to say a 37-35 game, but it was a bit of a high-scoring game when you look at the averages for both of these two teams.
Both of them got up and down the court really well. Nate Funk was really good in the half-court set, and the Salukis, especially early, got the looks that they wanted in the half-court offense.
Yeah, for Creighton, Nate Funk came in as the leading scorer in the conference. He hasn't disappointed so far.
Well, Nate was his usual daggers right there. The shot clock runs down. Then that's a really tough move. Kind of floating away from the defensive pressure. One of the better athletic guards in the conference. And then on the other side, Matt Shaw at 6'7", plays a forward position, but he can step out away from the basket. And then right here, got to take Tony Young out for dinner for that one right there.
Shaw having a big first half with 12 points. You look at the numbers, 54% on one side, 48% on the other side. Creighton getting more points off of turnovers. So you weren't with us for the start of the game. We'll give you the second half starting lineup, brought to you by Liberty Mutual. And Jamal Tatum, the man who was questionable to start the game with the deep thigh bruise, big in the first half. 11 points on the board for Southern Illinois. Miles, Porter, and Funk at the guard spot. The 3-guard lineup for Creighton here in the second. Adjustments at halftime if you're either coach?
Well, I think Southern Illinois has to be very careful with the foul trouble that they're in with their starters. At least, 5 starters have 2 fouls apiece, so have to be very careful here defensively.
5 players for Southern with the 2 fouls. There's Watts in and out. Tolliver, who was really key in the first 10 or 11 minutes of the game. You didn't see it if you're watching Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, but he really took over the offense. Now he's got 9.
And right there, you saw the result of that foul trouble. The Salukis had to let him go on the layup attempt because no one wants to start the second half with 3 fouls.
Tied up at 37. Neither team on the year, at least style-wise, looks to run. Maybe Creighton a little bit more in this game, but they do limit the possessions. There's a stat coming in, Creighton 16-0 when they score 62 points or more. So we're on pace for much more than that.
Well, you know the Salukis will turn it up here at some point in the second half on the defensive end and make things difficult like they usually do. But Creighton doing a fine job here early of establishing themselves in the paint.
Ryan Mullins, the sophomore from the Chicago area, Downers Grove, Illinois, runs the point for Southern Illinois. Young, the floater in the lane. Tony Young, who averages almost 10 points, had 25 against Bradley the other night. He's got 9 now.
Well, Young recognizing they needed a bucket. They were bogged down in the half-court set, and he took it upon himself.
Miles, the freshman, falls, and the jump ball, giving it back to Southern Illinois. 11-3, the records in the league for both Southern and Creighton. Dana Altman in his 13th year at the helm as the Blue Jays coach. There you see Coach of the Year in the conference 01-02, but he's 0-5 against Chris Lowry.
You see Creighton in that matchup zone. It has man tendency.
Falker struggled in the first half. He only had 3 shots, 1 bucket. Watts stripped, but a foul on Mullins. And that's his third. Chris Lowry, who played at SIU back in the early 90s. You see his record in his 3rd year. And how about at home? What they've been able to do, 77 of the last 80 games they've won. Percentage-wise, it's just right behind Gonzaga, 71-2.
Incredible run here in the arena. They can squeeze about 10,000 in here at capacity.
If the fire marshal's looking the other way. Mullins to the bench with the 3 fouls. Wesley Clemens onto the floor.
We'll have to note here at the 18:33 mark, Mullins goes out of the game. That's key for SIU with such a ball-controlled offense.
Tatum helping to handle the point guard duties here. Clemens has been pretty solid as of late. Deeper bench for SIU. Shaw had more than his average in the first half. He gets another bucket. That's an impressive move.
Well, he saw Nate Funk swing over to him, and he took advantage.
Tolliver muscles his way off the glass and in on the block. 41 all. You get the sense that this one's going to be a good one right down to the buzzer.
Creighton has really found a nice rhythm in the game on both ends of the floor. Made it tough on the Salukis, and on the other end, it found Tolliver a number of times.
So far in the second half, the Blue Jays able to go up and down a little bit and get easier shots than you would expect, even in the half court.
Somebody's got to create here. The shot clock running down.
Tatum can. He's got Watts on him, though, with size. Shaw. Look out, photographers. Don't clear the mess. And we're tied up at 41.
Well, take a look at Jamal Tatum. He's got a deep thigh bruise, but you wouldn't know it. These guys value the rock. Both teams understand how important each possession is, and he's going after it.
That was Brett Gaston, the official, right? Isn't that the one that took the spill in the first half? Fell right over Falker as he was set to check in at the scorer's table.
He's in the wrong sport. He needs to get on the gridiron.
Hey, speaking of officials, Mike Sanzier before the game wanted to send out his best to Ed Hightower, one of the long-time, really legendary officials. Now he's out. What's he got, a knee injury, I think?
Torn meniscus.
And out for the rest of the year. So the officials out here missing Ed. Creighton has never led.
That was an excellent call by Mike Sanzier. Tolliver blasted Wesley Clemens, trying to set the high pick. I thought he was going to get away with it, but Sanzier was all over that one.
3rd foul on Anthony Tolliver. First team foul here in the second half.
Well, Southern really having a hard time getting the ball to Faulkner.
Tatum looked the other way. Miles stepped in, blocked by Young, but the foul. Tony Young second.
Well, Isaac Miles, the freshman, pulling off the veteran move. With Young and Tatum not paying attention, Miles shoots the gap. He hasn't scored a lot, but he's been very aggressive.
Yeah, he looked one way before he looked back. It was kind of like the Freddie Brown pass back in the '82 national champion. You got to make sure he's got the right color jersey on.
That's right.
Poor Fred Brown.
I know, isn't that something?
For the rest of time.
Yep.
So Creighton's first lead of the game, 43-41.
And we've seen this much of the ball game after made shots, whether they're free throws or regular field goals. They go into a three-quarter court pressure, not designed for a turnover, just to slow the Salukis up and take them out of rhythm.
Manny Gaku, the senior from Paris, down low trying to guard Falker, picks up the foul, bodying him.
Well, Falker has got to be careful. He's banging tough on the interior with 2 fouls. He's trying to establish himself. Creighton really did a good job of taking him out of what he wanted to do early.
Yeah, they have taken him out of the game offensively. He's only got 4 points, only 3 shots from the floor. He wants it this time again. And once again, there's the foul on Gaku.
Well, look at the physical nature of the block area today. And Gaku just trying to uproot. Oh, Wesley was trying to make a pass. Made his mind up when he got in the paint.
Funk on the run to Porter, kicking it out to Watts. Falker blocks it. Clemens tried to throw it off of Miles. And a walking violation in the scramble.
Think this game in for first place in the Missouri Valley Conference.
It's been turned up a notch here in the second half.
Oh, these guys are going after it.
Here's Hibma, a junior from Pella, Iowa, on the floor now for Dana Altman's club. There's Gaku, who picked up the 2 quick fouls, trying to keep Falker from getting the basketball. You know, oftentimes in practice, coaches let things go that you get into a certain game that's called a certain way, and you look at the visual and say, I do that every day in practice. Well, it's a game being called a different way.
That's a great point, Terry, and I think a lot of times SIU gets caught on the defensive end that way where they're allowed to play so physical, and they have a hard time adjusting. Oh, he got away with the foul.
Young just ripped the arm off of Nate Funk, and no one saw it. Tatum walked. Pace is picked up, intensity's picked up. A couple of turnovers here as well. It was a classic, the first matchup between the two in Omaha. We'll take a quick look when we come back at that one. For Creighton on the road, trying to repay the favor here in Rivalry Week, presented by Cisco. The first matchup in front of a packed house on January 20th in Omaha. Only 13% beyond the arc for Creighton. An almost suffocating defense for SIU. Randall Falker led the way, 21 points and 6 rebounds. It came down to the wire. The last possession, Brian Mullins off balance, rattles it home. SIU goes ahead, and a last chance desperation 3 for Nate Funk. It almost went, but SIU with the win, hard-fought victory, and that's how they stand right now, 11-3, tied with Creighton atop the standings.
Well, it's really small margin of error when these two hook up, and looks like we're going to have the same thing this afternoon.
Funk up to his old tricks.
Ooh, I can smell that from here. That was so funky. Off the dribble, spin move, using the size to create the space.
You got a lot more of those too, don't you?
Oh, I got plenty.
Yep. See if we can extend this game into overtime. There's the steal. Shaw took it right back.
Wow.
And then the foul on Hibma.
You can see why these so-called mid-major programs, why they can do well in the NCAA tournament, because the effort level is as high here as any we've seen in the country. They respect possession of the rock, and as you mentioned, Terry, every time down heightens the level of intensity for them to succeed.
4 teams to the NCAA tournament last year from the Missouri Valley. They've had at least 2 the last 8 years. Mullins at 3. Not known particularly as a shooter. Every now and then he'll give it to you, though.
That was good two-man basketball. They know that Creighton is going to double-team Falker. Mullins passes it in, slides down to the baseline to his sweet spot, gets the ball back and drains the triple.
Josh Doechler, who's had injuries this year, he's off the bench, running the point, allows Nate Funk to go to the 2. Doechler Young may have gotten a piece.
Dotzler looked like he had a string on that elbow. Came up real short.
Falker backed away from it. Had the position, didn't hold it.
You know what it looked like, Terry? Look, you know how guys lean on another one?
And then the defender moved.
Dane Watts moved.
Yep.
Did a good job of breaking contact. You got to tip your hat to the defensive effort by Creighton so far in the game.
Young was all over Funk again. And Nate's not going to get that call.
Tony Young, a past Defensive Player of the Year in the Missouri Valley Conference, seems to be getting the benefit of the doubt when guarding Nate Funk.
Falker goes to the bench. Tony Boyle in. Nick Porter's on the floor for Creighton.
Well, when Dotzler comes in the game for Creighton, true point guard, he gives them a lot more flexibility. So now that Porter and Tolliver will go to the main scoring threats here in the half court. See if Tolliver can reestablish himself like he did earlier. Falker on the bench.
Nick Baugh also on the floor for Creighton from Lincoln, Nebraska, former walk-on at Kansas. Tolliver, there it is, and Shaw was late in getting over. And there was no way Boyle was going to stay with Tolliver.
I am amazed at the lack of defensive adjustments by the Saluki. We've seen that play six times already today. You know what they're going to do, and yet Tolliver continues to make them pay.
SIU has turned it over 4 of the last 5 possessions. Mullins just hit a 3 from the corner. Good recovery from Dotzler.
Boy, Dotzler quietly has had a solid game defensively.
Bone, and there is Dotzler on cue. Got Hibma to the left hand, up and in. Largest lead for Creighton. It's at 5. Chris Lowry at home has only lost 8 times in his career as a player or a coach on this floor. And right now, senses that run from Creighton doesn't want it to get out of hand. So 12:50 left here at SIU Arena. Dotzler off the bench leading the way. All right, Linda, thanks. Yep, your average student at SIU in the front row. Great student section. Take a look at one of the last possessions here, the two-man game.
Two-man game. Watch Nate Funk right there. He's guarding Brian Mullen. The ball goes in. They're double-teaming Falker all day long. Watch the double team. Watch Nate's head. Look at his head turn. He's getting a whiff of himself too much. Lost his man. Mullen squeezes away and drops the 3. So he smelling his armpits or something and lost 5 balls.
I'm not sure he was doing that, but he did turn the head. No, but it's a good example of Falker, too, how he can set up the offense even without scoring by drawing that double team. Shaw has been red hot. Matt Shaw, the junior from Centralia, Illinois, a program that has won more games than any other high school program in America.
And back in the day, they had the prettiest cheerleaders as well, but we won't get into that too much.
You remember that, huh?
I do. But
the pride and joy of Carbondale Community High School right here. Good spin move. And the body from Nick Porter. Uses that body very well.
Nick Porter saying, I might be Compton, but I ain't soft. I'm coming to the hole with a purpose. Well, Matt Shaw has figured out that Falker is going to be double teamed for the game. So he's got to be aggressive.
This time they don't. Falker, the offensive foul.
That's an excellent call.
Third foul on Randall Falker, who was not doubled, but this time picks up his third. 4-point lead for the Blue Jays. All right, Linda, thank you. Back here in Carbondale, the home team down by 4. Creighton in the league. Our Cisco game track so far, 18 points off of turnovers for the Blue Jays.
Creighton giving Southern Illinois some of their own medicine. Tough pressure defense and turning the turnovers into easy buckets. That's what you have to do against the 4th best team in the country defensively, with only allowing 55 points per game, and they're at 51 already.
Matt Shaw, the surprise so far. Solid player. Not a surprise that he could go off for 17 points, but I mean, he only averages 11 in the game, and he's been awfully impressive. 7 of 10 from the floor.
And I think what's been equally impressive with Matt Shaw is the fact that he's looking to score. He's aggressive and just not taking what the defense gives him.
Offensive punch on the floor now for Southern Illinois, in that Young is out there. Tatum just came back in, and Shaw with Falker. And Brian Mullins picked up his 4th. He goes immediately to the bench. And remember the 11:38 mark.
Ryan Mullins makes this engine go offensively, and they're going to have to really pull together here. Down 4 to a really good Creighton team that's in rhythm.
Porter up. Never out of control, using the body.
That's that power guard we're talking about. You see why Creighton's so tough. Nate Funk can play in any conference in the country. Outstanding guard, can get his own shot. Porter, a tough matchup. Dotzler knows his game, stays within his game, and does a terrific job defensively.
Shaw saved it. Tatum, who's been quiet in the second half, in fact, spent much of it on the bench. Shaw, and the foul on Dane Watts.
Dana Altman, Creighton coach, upset with Watts, but that's very difficult to ask Watts to come out on the perimeter and keep Shaw from penetrating. You've got the hot man for Southern trying to hold him one-on-one. That's a tough assignment.
Yeah, normally you may not have to come out quite as hard on Shaw, but now you have to. Look at the numbers that he's put up. He's knocked down the threes. Southern Illinois at 20-5. Creighton coming in at 17-7. And Chris Lowry's club 11-0 at home. Look at the disparity in the free throws.
Creighton taking advantage and using the defensive aggressiveness of the Salukis against them. Knowing that they like to play physical, they're taking it to them and forcing the official to make the call.
This is what the Salukis do. They make you extend your offense a long way from the basket. Tipped out by Young. Let's see if they reversed it. Nope. They're going to talk about it. Official. Yeah, they're going to switch it because it was tipped out by Young. So Creighton basketball.
Well, you always want to get it right. And it looks like they got it right that time. Tony got a hand in there right at the end.
Chris doesn't like it, but that's the right call.
Wow, Tony Young just smacks Funk in the face. No call.
Oliver, Tatum comes up with the scramble.
Are we at a Wrestle Royale or what, Terry?
Here comes the crowd, too. Falker wants it on the block, backing Tolliver in. Here he is. Kicked it away, right off of his knee.
Boy, the intensity in this building, the roof is getting ready to come off here. Creighton doing a better job of keeping their composure.
Clements took it away, and it's on the baseline. So Creighton basketball, 24 on the shot clock. Told you about the dominance here at home. 51-1 in Missouri Valley play since the 01-02 season. In fact, Jamal Tatum has only lost one game at home in his career.
Well, you knew Creighton was going to come in with a different sort of game plan because the 7 tries before this didn't work.
Oliver, the offensive foul as Falker went to the deck. And that's the 4th on Anthony.
Now, Tolliver cannot be surprised by this call. Watch the shoulder.
Yep.
I mean, Karl Malone would have fell on that move right there. That's good position defense by Randall Falker.
So Mullins went out at the 11:38 mark, and now Tolliver goes out at the 9:42 mark. It certainly puts more pressure on Nate Funk offensively, because this man has been a force inside.
I would like to see Southern try to get Jamal Tatum going once again, maybe off of a pick and roll situation, so he can use that elevation on that sweet jumper he had. There we go. Pick and roll.
Off the screen. You're my partner, but you should be a coach. I would miss you, though. Good call.
I'm having too much fun over here with you, so you don't have to worry about that.
Funk and the hold called on Tony Young, who doesn't like it, but he's gotten away with 3 of them, so they finally get him.
Take a look here. They usually go to the right hand, but now he's going to his left. Porter hesitates, and you know you can't give Tatum any room. Good execution as the shot clock was winding down.
Tatum with 14 in the game, and that foul by Young hits 3rd. Here he is on Funk. Hasn't backed off from the pressure. The double. Watts, 4-3, Silk.
I'll tell you what, I love this, man. You talk about a conference battle. Neither team is flinching. They've got to answer for each other. This is what conference basketball during the middle of February, is all about.
You're right. Watts has 12. You saw the numbers on the three-point shooting. Falker, the offensive foul at this end. And that's 4 on Randall.
Once again, you can't be upset with the call. Look at Watts in the position he has.
Oh, really?
Oh.
When are the Academy Awards?
Yeah, that looked a lot more severe from my angle. That one right there, though, that's a tough break.
But there's a man who had 21 points in the last matchup between these two in Omaha. He goes to the bench with only 4. Big reason why they trail by 4. High low to Porter. Boyle says no. 22 on the shot clock.
I love that scissor action by Creighton. It's designed to come off and get Porter in the basket or Nate Funk. Look at Porter. He's done this 3 times in the second half. Come off that scissor action and post up.
Offensive foul, the moving screen on Dane Watts. His 3rd. Trying to set the screen for Funk.
Now, I said this early in the game, Terry, and I'll say it again. These officials have to pull these guys together and talk to them just for a second and let them know, because the coaches are going to have to suit up before long with the rate the fouls are going right now.
But if they don't know at the 8:05 mark of the second half the way the game's being called, shame on them.
That's true.
Clemens, he's got a 3. Wesley Clemens, the sophomore from Indianapolis. 1-point game.
Well, look at Tony Young.
Yeah, look at Tony Young. That's his 4th. You and I are going to have 4 pretty soon.
You're right.
Clemens, they were already standing in here. Now they're jumping. Rivalry Week presented by Cisco. And Creighton on the road with the 1-point lead. A reminder, big Monday, obviously big night of college basketball. Louisville taking on Pittsburgh, Oklahoma State against Texas. That, in my estimation, again, was the best game so far, the first matchup of this college basketball season. That's at 9 Eastern. Big Monday presented by Bud Light on ESPN, also available in high def on ESPN HD. And we will be out in Spokane for Santa Clara and Gonzaga. Big news, unfortunately, for Zags fans. Josh Heitfeld, along with Theo Davis, arrested last night for possession of marijuana and psychedelic mushrooms. They're suspended indefinitely, so we'll see what happens and certainly update you on that situation.
Tough break for Gonzaga, seeing trying to come back from the upset loss at Loyola Marymount, fighting for as long as I can remember to hold the lead in the West Coast Conference.
Meanwhile, a 3-point lead for Creighton on the road. And you've got two of your stars, Brian Mullins and Randall Falker, both with 4 fouls for SIU.
Well, SIU had to play pretty much last game without Jamal Tatum, so they're used to having guys come off the bench and step up when need be.
Shot clock under 10. Tatum to Clemens. Controls it off the spin. They were on a run of shooting threes. Their last 4 were from beyond the arc, but he makes it a 1-point game.
Coach Chris Lowry said Wesley Clemens was playing dead earlier in the year, and now is starting to pick his pace up.
Both teams in the 50s. In fact, Southern Illinois almost 60%. Look at 8 of 11, too, beyond the arc. And the rebound edge going to the Blue Jays. This crowd trying to carry the Salukis on offense.
I'd look for a high pick and roll once again with Tatum, trying to get the young fella off.
Doetzler picks up the foul on the reach.
You don't see Tatum right now. He's in a lot of pain. Couldn't play last game because of the deep thigh bruise. But, boy, he is gutting it out this afternoon.
So he goes to the free throw line. First foul on Doetzler and the 8th team foul on Creighton. He'll take a seat on the bench. Both teams in the bonus right now. Right on his average.
Well, we've seen rare misses from Doetzler early, Nate Funk, and now Jamal Tatum. I think it's an indication of how hard this game is being played.
Funk trying to free himself off that screen from Tolliver. Watts. And the foul on Porter. That's his 3rd.
Well, this is the way the game looks like it's going to go. We're going to have a bunch of trips to the free throw line. And I'm starting to lean towards your explanation, Terry, and that the players have to adjust at some point.
See the foul trouble. Falker, Mullins, and Young all with 4. Tolliver with 4. For Creighton. The way this has been played and called, might take a while for that final 6:24 to tick off the clock. Tied up at 58.
Wesley Clemens from Naptown, Indianapolis, walking around proudly because his Colts got it done.
Oh, you had to bring that up, didn't you? A couple of guys from Chicago calling the game here.
Yeah, he made sure I knew that the Colts got it done down in Miami.
Foul Jamal Tatum. That's his first. And Mullins with the 4 fouls is set to check in. Yeah, at some point you got to bring your stars back in, even with the 4 fouls. So right now, Chris Lowry choosing to bring Mullins, and Green takes a seat. Free throw shooting contest. And remember those missed free throws in the first half.
That's right. And let's see if Isaac Miles, a freshman, can step up.
So it continues.
Salukis now have Mullins back in the game, but I would continue to look for Tatum.
Shaw, no call, and gets the roll. Funk looks up to Tolliver. Miles blocked by Shaw. Salukis on the run. 3-point lead, and they've got him revved up here in Carbondale.
Oh, I'd give it to Boyle. He's got Tolliver guarding him. He isn't known for a score, but I try to feed the big fella.
Tolliver's got 4 fouls. Shaw spots Looks up and knocks it down. That's a 2. 5-point lead. Shaw with 23 in the game on 9 of 12.
Well, take a look. A lost art of the game, the mid-range game. Matt Shaw, up fake, get his defender off the feet, and then step into the jumper. That's pretty basketball. That release almost looked like somebody that used to play at North Carolina State back in the day.
Yeah, Rodney Monroe. SIU on an 8-0 run the last 2.5 minutes. When it looked bleak, I mean, we were just sitting there talking about what they've done at home, how dominant they've been, but they've got the foul trouble, isn't that? Just like that, they turn it up on the defensive end. And our cameraman is not jumping up and down, he's just standing there, but everyone else in the arena is.
Well, Missouri Valley always happy to have us here. And they've been gracious hosts, and they've really put on a show here this afternoon with the 2 class programs of the conference.
You think you make sure your star gets the touch here, Funk?
I'd say a pick and roll with Tolliver and Funk.
Yeah, they try to go high-low, and Shaw reaches in for his 3rd.
And you know what we haven't mentioned here thus far is the great chess match between these 2 good coaches.
Yep.
You know, they're making adjustments. Dane Watts, I thought he had an allergy to the paint. That's the first time he's posted up all day, but it results in him having free throw opportunity.
Watts in and out, another opportunity missed. Might come down to that for Creighton. They'll look back at this game and say, if we just knock down our free throws. Tatum, fade away, launches it. Oh, how about that shot from Jamal Tatum?
Tatum at 6'1", takes Nate Funk at 6'3", and puts him in the popcorn popper.
Tolliver didn't want it. Watts spotting up, and that's a 3. Dane Watts. And a timeout. It's a 4-point game. 30-second timeout, and we can catch our breath. Long enough to tell you about 2 of the SEC's finest going at it tonight at 9 Eastern. Florida, the #1 team in the nation, taking on number 18 Kentucky. And Kentucky trying to win its 400th at Rupp Arena. The Gators with the nation's longest winning streak, 15 in a row. Check out the standings in the SEC East.
Well, you look at the cream of the crop, Florida, but no one's talking about the Kentucky Wildcats either. They've done a really quiet job of establishing themselves in the SEC and really trying to put a dent into Billy Donovan's Gators.
And those that are undefeated in conference play, Florida, one of them. Memphis, awfully talented for John Calipari at 10-0. They'll hook up with Gonzaga in Spokane, non-conference game. Of course, next Saturday, Bracket Buster Saturday, and a number of teams from the Missouri Valley, which is the 5th best conference in the nation in terms of the RPI.
Well, the shot maker.
And the fadeaway from Tatum, who's taken over. 6-point lead. Tolliver, yeah.
Well, Anthony Tolliver. I like this young man's game. 3.5 GPA in finance. And you know, typically guys in the money industry don't like to get their hands dirty, but the big fella's got a little bit of everything going.
And a timeout for Chris Lowry. A quick one, 30-second break. So both teams left with 2 timeouts for the last 3 minutes, 31 seconds. We're talking about the O'Reilly ESPNU Bracket Busters. Winthrop is an awfully good team.
Yes, they are. That would be one of the better matchups. I think the premier matchup looks like the 2 ranked clubs, though.
Yeah, Southern Illinois taking on Butler in Indianapolis. Yep.
At VCU is a very good ball club as well. Anthony Grant, his first year taking over for Jeff Capel. They're doing a fantastic job in the Patriot League. So once again, a bracket buster, tremendous matchups. And it's a great deal to expose the quote-unquote mid-majors to the rest of the country.
There's your numbers on the 4-point lead for Southern Illinois, both with 9 fouls and a couple of timeouts. Possession arrow to Creighton. This is a league this year that not only has the SIUs and the Creightons, but much more depth than it's had in the past, top to bottom. And in a way, it hurts the conference because they're beating up on each other. And you look at the records overall in the conference and say 7-7's not that impressive, but it's a tougher conference at the bottom.
No question about it. And Northern Iowa at 9-5. Still in it.
Shot clock violation. Faulker didn't get it off. He thought he did, but so the lead is 4 here in rivalry week, presented by Cisco. With College Game Day, driven by State Farm at 8 Eastern. 3:11 left here, a 4-point game. Talk about stars. The last time this man, Nate Funk, hit a field goal, it was at the 15:29 mark, Steve.
And it has a lot to do with the guy guarding him right now, making life very difficult, but it also means Creighton has gone away from trying to get him to rock. But I bet they won't here for the rest of the game.
Tried to free him up and get him the ball there, but Shaw read it perfectly. How big has Matt Shaw been in this one?
As you mentioned earlier, Centralia, Illinois native. He's home here in Southern Illinois, so he doesn't want to send his seniors their last regular season matchup against Creighton out losers.
Tatum trying to get free of Doatswood. Mullins around the screen. No way for Faulker to handle that one.
Again, we talked about it earlier. That will be the maturation of Brian Mullins. Only a sophomore, conference freshman of the year last year. He'll take more of those shots and develop that little floater in the lane.
Son of a coach. His dad was his AAU coach. The gym rat. Funk, double.
Well, look at the defensive rotation.
Watts, though, right by Shaw, and Mullins late along the baseline. It's a 2-point game again.
Well, I tell you, these guys, both of these teams know each other very well. They're trying to take away the strengths. You see the score in the upper 60s, so the game has been played at an ultra-high intensity.
These are the possessions, too, when shots are really tough to take, let alone make.
And here's your shot maker right there.
Slipped and fell. Walking violation on Tatum as he went to the floor.
Well, we saw him make that move about 5 minutes ago where he took Funk along the baseline and elevated, but not that time.
GW and Xavier, heard from Dave O'Brien just a moment ago. That's coming up next. Chance to tie it, perhaps take the lead with a 3 for the Jays. Porter, and the foul, if they call Mullins for that, that's his 5th.
Well, defensive Mullins, he kept his body in great position defensively. I have to take a look and see where the contact was there. Well, that's a heads-up play by Nick Porter, putting his head down and getting to the paint.
Well, Mullins fouls out with 6 points and those 3 rebounds.
Well, free throw percentages haven't meant much here. 80% from the line, but he's one of the few that can convert.
They're 20 of 29. Southern Illinois just 9 of 12, but they've missed some key ones. Got it. Clean slate, tied up at 67 with 1:12 and counting.
Good job by Creighton going back to the three-quarter court. Just taking a little bit of time off.
Tipped away by Watts, the scramble. Tried to call timeout. Did he get it? Yeah, he did.
Boy, these guys are diving after the rock. Going to get it. Dana Altman not happy with the timeout, but good job. They were a little bit more aggressive this time, Terry. saw there, nice hands by Dane Watts.
The heady play by Clemens to call the timeout, but he was the one in the first place who didn't protect the basketball. So they'll talk it over. As a player, when you look back on your career, aren't these the games that really stand out in conference, regular season, against your rival, even more so in some ways than the NCAA tournament?
I totally agree, Terry, because here, these guys, as we look at the numbers there, they know each other.
Yeah.
They played against each other for years. We saw them come and shoot around and they didn't even speak to each other. Like a lot of teams. So, you know, these, as you said, they'll be talking about this 10 years from now, and the stories will get bigger and bigger as they get older and older.
In your own mind, many ways, the matchups that define your college career. There we go. Under a minute to go, tied up at 67. Shaw with 23 off the Falker with the 4 fouls. Young got it. Tony Young inside the arc, 69-67.
I mean, Tony Young, ultimate confidence on the elevation.
It's been a drought for Nate Funk. Young matched up, the crossover. Spin, Falker in the air, and that's 5 on him.
Now you see why Nate Funk is the leading scorer in the Missouri Valley Conference. Gets here in the paint, and it's one nation under a groove. Well, maybe not.
Enough already. No, I like him. Falker, though, goes to the bench, so he's out. Mullins is out. And it does surprise me that Dana Altman and Creighton didn't go more to that in the second half with Nate Funk. You have such a weapon there.
Yeah, you're right, Terry. Can really shoot from the 3, and then with the ability to handle the basketball. He doesn't look real big, but he's a strong guard.
And the 89% free throw shooter rims it in and out.
That's the residual effect, I believe, of the SIU guards running at him.
This one is all Cotton, so a 1-point game, 36.2. Full court pressure. They break it easily.
And it's about even.
Shot clock, game clock, maybe tenths of a second difference. That's it. So at some point, you got to go get him. Too late. The foul on Watts, and Boyle to the free throw line.
Well, that might not be so bad for Creighton. Boyle, a non-starter, played extensive minutes through the foul trouble today, but only a 65% free throw shooter.
Watts with his 4th. Xavier GW coming up next, soon as we're done here. And Boyle, a 65% free throw shooter.
Well, young man from DeSoto, Missouri, getting it done.
But obviously, it's a one-possession game here, either way. Our Jordan Takeover player of the game, Matt Shaw, 23 points, 9 of 12 from the floor. 2-point game. Here comes Funk. He couldn't win it in the first matchup. Stripped away by Young. Still time. Porter. No. Shaw. No foul. And now they do call the foul. 0.6 seconds. And that should do it.
Wow. A lot of contact going to the bucket. Looked like Tony Young got his hand in on the ball as Funk left his feet. And Porter had a pretty good look as well. Take a look. Look at the ball right there. Pretty good strip. Funk goes back and gets, but look at Porter. Yeah, that's a tough look for Porter.
So Shaw's at the line with the free throw. 2-point lead for the Salukis with 0.6. Young with the big strip, and throughout the second half, remember, he had a number of those where there may have been some contact, but the officials weren't calling it.
Yeah.
You keep doing it.
I think, you know, he gets the benefit of his reputation, being the Conference Defensive Player of the Year, and I think a lot of times he gets a different look.
They're over-reviewing this just in terms of the time. The .6 that is left.
Yeah, there should be it looked like there's a few tenths of a second that went off.
So this is what they're taking a look at. It wasn't clear that there even was a foul called. The official who's closest to the action did not call anything. So there's the official here. And it seems that they're, 1.6 is what they're going to put on the clock.
Well, if Matt Shaw can do what he's done all afternoon, it won't make much difference here.
But it would have to be 2, and he is shooting 2 on the 10th foul. This one's big. If they there it is. Dana Altman calls timeout. Shaw with 25, but the 4-point lead with 1.6. And remember, this is for the top spot in the conference, and Southern Illinois won the first matchup, so they would have the tiebreaker.
They'd have the tiebreaker, and although this is the one with the 2 leaders, Southern Illinois still has to go to Missouri State on Monday.
Yep.
So there's still a lot of basketball left to be played, but this definitely gives them a boost if they can hold on.
So looking to move 52-1 at home in the Missouri Valley since 2001-2002. Makes you chuckle because you can't really believe that anybody could be that dominant, but they have been here at home.
Well, the first thing Coach Lowry from Southern Illinois said, we've had great players that make plays.
Xavier, GW, they're standing by. Dave Barnett, Tim McCormick call the action. And that'll do it. It's a final here in Carbondale. Southern Illinois moves to 21-5. Creighton 17-8. Salukis top spot in the conference. 72-68. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Xavier, GW, Dave Barnett, Tim McCormick standing by in D.C.